Hey, it's Chronologically Gaming, the only channel that's perpetually retro because we're playing every video game in order of release. We've gone too far, and we're going to keep on going game by game by game by game. Join me in the middle of December 1982.
I want an aspirin-free pain reliever. What should I take?
Ask your doctor about Daytril, extra-strength Daytril tablets. Daytril is 100% aspirin-free.
Daytril?
It contains the same aspirin-free pain reliever hospitals use most.
Well, fine, but is it really strong?
You can't buy a stronger aspirin-free pain reliever. Look for extra-strength Daytril in this factory-sealed package. Ask your doctor about Daytril from Bristol Myers.
Am I glad I found out about Daytril?
Oh no, don't do it! We were last playing Sokoban, the first release on Japanese computers, showing you that we play games all over the world and see what our next video game is. The next video game release takes us to the ColecoVision, the hottest home console. Well, I'd say Vectrex maybe nudges this one out just a little bit, but we're going to check out Space Fury. Here is Space Fury. We first saw this in the arcades in June 1981, and it was advertised as the very first color vector video game. Like we've seen with the other arcade to console conversions, ColecoVision wants you to know you're going to play the arcade experience, and that's why they have the arcade cabinet there. Look, even the arcade cabinet has the video game, but how are you going to do vector graphics? It should be on the Vectrex. Plays like the real arcade game. Wait a second. There it is, plays and scores like the arcade game. Wait a second, look at the picture. It's a fabric. I don't think that's a real picture of the game. I think they fabricated it. It explains how to play here. The dreaded alien commander, just like we were taunted in the arcades, is supposed to be here as well. Let's see about that. What other artwork do we have for Space Fury? Besides the box, we have the ColecoVision itself. If you don't remember, the joystick is this one, this little nubby one that you have to get your hands around, with the number pad as well. And then the cartridge. This one is on the largest size cartridge that's available right now. This is 16 kilobytes in size. It's 16 kilopower. Space Fury is holding nothing back. It is the most powerful cartridge. With an example of the screenshots, here's the manual and telling us how to play the official Space Fury. 1 or 2 players select from 4 different skill levels, and it says it plays like the Space Fury arcade game. I guess it scores that way. Oh my gosh, look at the alien. Now, the original was color vector graphics, and this alien, they had to turn it into something fabricated for console, so kind of well done. Very, very nice. This marks the 11th video game that we've seen so far for the ColecoVision. And if you haven't seen from the beginning, the ColecoVision has given us some really, really good games. It opened with this. Donkey Kong from the arcade was on the ColecoVision, one of the first ones we saw. After that was Venture, another very well done arcade to home conversion. After that, we saw Zaxxon, again, doing even better home conversion than the Atari 2600 could do. After that, we saw Cosmic Avenger, which was, again, ported from the arcade. An original title, though, we saw next, and it was Smurf, Rescuing Gargamel's Castle. I'm still blown away because right now there's not a lot of games you can play like this that are fun. Very, very well done. Then we saw Carnival, again ported from the arcade's home. Excellent port. And then another very well done port we saw after that was Ladybug to the ColecoVision. Most people aren't familiar with the arcade version at all, and this is the version that they know best. Then we saw Ken Uston's Blackjack and Poker, all right. And then we saw Mousetrap, ported again from the arcade. Well done and better than most of the other ports out there. And then the last one we saw was Turbo, which was blow away one of the most amazing driving games you could play because it's giving you a driving experience. And here we are with the latest on ColecoVision. This one's done by Coleco Industries, the 27th time we've seen a video game by this company. And who did this port? Which person actually worked on this? I don't have any information on the specific person. This says that ColecoVision Space Fury pits us against the Space Fleet, the Alien Commander. Maneuver your fighter to avoid enemy scouts, then fire to eliminate them before they join the complete a ship that shoots deadly fireballs. Banish the first squadron and you get a chance to join with a mothership that gives you more firepower. If you defeat all the squadrons, you'll be matched against the entire alien fleet. How many of the alien commander's attackers can you conquer? In other words, how long can you last? Sounds a lot like the arcade. The manual goes into how to set everything up on your ColecoVision. Love it. Make sure you plug everything in. For the controller, it shows you the buttons and the keypad, which I don't think the keypad is just to select options. Yeah, it's just if you're doing a 1 or 2 player game and then the difficulty options. But the side buttons thrust your fighter on one side, and then the other side has you fire bullets. So you're going to be pushing 1 to thrust, 1 to fire, and then the control stick rotates you around. If you're doing a 2-player game, you have to take turns, so it's arcade, hot seat multiplayer. You don't get to play at the same time. You press the reset button, it explains everything right here on the screen, what everything is, player score for 1 and 2, and it prepares you for battle. Now, if you can blow up the first round, and shows you how to blow up the first round, step 3 is it says more firepower to you. You can eliminate all alien scouts and move on to the docking phase. Rotate your fighter, it's just like the arcade. Face the mothership you want to dock with. Each mothership allows you to fire differently from the others. Try all 3 to find your favorite for each battle. Press the left side button to move into the ship, and the fighter docks solidly into the middle of the ship. You have 3 times the firepower as before. If you fail the dock, you have to battle the enemy for the next round and go for another single fire. So in round 2, you face groups of alien cruisers. Use your extra firepower to eliminate them. So already I'm getting vibes of the arcades. It sounds exactly like the arcades, but they can't replicate the vector graphics of the arcades. And then the alien commander continues to send you out attackers, groups of battle enemies, destroyers, warships, and explains how to start over pressing the star button. There's the scoring. Why are we playing these video games in December 1982? Because of the score. You got to know what it is. Each time you complete a round, the points left in the bonus time add to your score. And then the ColecoVision Games, for some reason, say, the manual only tells you so much. The fun of discovery is just to keep playing the game and learning different techniques. In other words, just having fun, I guess, playing the video game. Thanks, Coleco. So this one's available first in North America, I believe technically in Canada, and then in other regions after that. This is the first version. Let's pop in that Space Fury and play. Developed by Sega Enterprises. Published by Coleco Industries. It's December 15th, 1982. So Sega did this one. This is the 47th Sega video game, or Sega Enterprises video game we've seen so far. Not to be confused with Sega Gremlin. They've done 22 games that we've seen so far, and the only Sega Gremlin game at home is Carnival. Everything else that Sega Enterprises has done up to this point has been, everything else is in the arcade by Sega Gremlin. Sega Enterprises, though, this is their 3rd game they've done for the ColecoVision after Zaxxon and Turbo. They did Zaxxon for the Atari 2600, but everything else has been in the arcades. 42 arcade games we've seen by Sega up to this point. So Sega's already a name for themselves, popular in the arcades, bringing us arcade titles like Monaco GP, 005, Borderline, Samurai, Subrock 3D, Monster Bash, Pingo, Star Trek, Locomotive. So I'm expecting something really, really fun. All right, so you ready? Let's push just difficulty 1. Oh, so a creature for my amusement. Prepare for battle. Oh, he doesn't talk to us. I kind of was hoping that. We do have consoles, video games that talk to us. He didn't talk to us like before. So the game begins, and I died that fast. I was in the middle of the screen, a la Asteroids. I have a button for shoot and a button for thrust. Oh yeah, it just goes right into the action, really, really fast. The opening sound is very familiar to me, though. Does anyone recognize the opening? It's like a sci-fi version of something from the army or the military, maybe? And while I'm trying to explain the game, I'm going to be dying quite a bit. Your first experience with Space Fury for the ColecoVision is you notice that it's not vector graphics, obviously. Our battle is completed. He already beat me up. Warrior 1, thanks. Yeah, right, heads up. This game goes in fast. So your first experience with Space Fury is you're going to die. Yeah, game over, player 1, thank you. Can we get back to, I think we have to hit the star button, right? Yeah. And then we go from there. All right, so the controls are just like when we played Asteroids. You rotate your ship left and right, and it's relative controls, relative based on where your ship is. You have the pieces that come together. After the pieces come together, it starts to have homing attacks that come after you. So it's like, in a way, reverse Asteroids, if that's the way to put it. And then, we have the docking stations. Okay, so let's pick a dock. Just like, it's similar to the arcades where they broke up the action with this, but I also noticed that whenever I got the docking station, it didn't seem as large, like the size. So they're working within the limitations of the hardware, obviously. Oh man, they were homing in really fast. And then you pick a different one to dock with. Very cool. Going in again. So I have different firepower. So cool. Yep, just like, I think it's the same ones from the arcades. This is the one that shoots in the back from before. So yeah, I have my thrust to fly around. One shot in the front for this one, and then like 3 or 4 in the back. I'm like barely getting by. Oh yeah. But it's very reminiscent to most multi-directional shooters that we played up to this point. Oh man, yeah. And then in the chat, Jay Mogler saying janky but fun. Yeah, very, very difficult, but at this point, I would expect games to be brutally difficult because we've already seen so many different games and kinds of games. It also feels like there's something homing in on me at the same time, too. Yikes. And remember, you have different difficulty skills to choose from, so if this one is a little too hard, you can try one of the other easier ones. And if you play with 2 people, you'll be taking turns back and forth just like you were in the arcades. You were an amusing opponent. So we're getting taunted by someone else. It's not as intense or as scary as something like what we saw in the arcades with the a roar of the, yeah, very Asteroids-like. Yeah, it feels the same way and controls the same way too. All right, let's go in again. Oh, I think I picked a different skill. Yeah, I picked a different skill level there. You could say it seems unfair, but at this point, the cap of gamers wanting to go for higher and higher scores is higher. There we go. So this one's a little bit lower skill level than we had before, but still the opening is just like the arcade, where it starts you off with pieces of something coming together. Once they come together, then they home in on you. So you want to be able to clear them out before while they're pieces. Okay, we dock up, get a power up here. See, try to destroy as many as you can. But yeah, the rotation and the way this feels, so much like Asteroids. And we call these video games multi-directional shooters. This is the 166th multi-directional shooter in the arcade, or arcade-style multi-directional shooter, and that's on all systems, all platforms, all over the world. Everything, even home computers. This marks the 27th multi-directional shooter that we've seen on all home consoles. And this is ColecoVision's very first multi-directional shooter. Oh, we already showed you all the original, or all the other ColecoVision games that we've seen before. But this game is doing something that we haven't seen with a lot of video games or shooters, even though we've seen so many multi-directional shooters up to this point. But the one thing I can tell that's the biggest difference is the games we played on the ColecoVision up to this point have been really close to the arcade. Well done ports. This one cannot port. You cannot port the same color vector-based game to the ColecoVision. So this one feels like it's letting me down as far as a ColecoVision game. As far as a console game, though, this is pretty good. This is still well done. It just doesn't feel like I'm getting... I'm not feeling the same vibes as I did in the arcade. Yeah, the way that they do the power-ups is still very well done. And you notice the frame rate's a little choppy. It feels like I'm chugging a little bit to get the game to play, but honestly, it's a little nitpicky. You would still have a really good time playing this on the ColecoVision. And if this was your only console, I don't know why you don't have an Atari 2600 right now, but if you didn't, this essentially would be your way to play Asteroids, because there is not an official port of Asteroids that's going to come to the ColecoVision. I like this one, the triple shot. It feels like I got a lot more firepower. Alright, we got some enemies homing in on us. We'll move around on this side. Oh, I don't know how I survived that. It looked like some of them were just popping out of midair. Yeah, we're mixing together, because when you get far enough and you start to get higher and higher scores, they blend all the other enemies that we saw from before. Waves after waves of different things. So how does this game compare to the other multi-directional shooters that we've seen so far? So right now, across all home consoles, we've seen our fair share of really good multi-directional shooters on home consoles. On the Atari 2600, you have Yar's Revenge that's available to play right now. Excellent multi-directional shooter, and original as well. We also have the Asteroids port that was done to the Atari 2600. Not exactly faithful, but very, very popular. Lots of people loved it and had high reviews too. Another example is Berserk that you can play at home on the Atari 2600. Excellent multi-directional shooter. Then, ported from home computers is Marauder. They only ported one of the modes that you can run around and shoot everything, but still, it's excellent. Really, really fun to play. Another surprisingly new one is a game called Beanie Bopper. This one is 2-player compatible, multiplayer at the same time. So really, really fun multi-directional shooter if you want to play right now. You also have Space War, a classic, an older version based on the mainframe version on the Atari 2600 that you could play. You also have Cosmic Swarm that is different, but it's tricky because it looks like you're playing Asteroids. It actually plays a little bit differently, at least mechanic-wise. And then another one that we've seen is Room of Doom on the Atari 2600. It's very, very well done. Another fun one to play is Suicide Mission. This one you have to have the supercharger on the Atari 2600. And then moving over to the Intellivision, a multi-directional shooter you can play there is Space Hawk, which it's the same idea. Let's spin around and shoot things, but you actually are a person, like an astronaut. We also have a really fun one, Tron Deadly Discs, that's available on the Intellivision. And then moving over to the Arcadia 2001, you have another Berserk-like clone called Escape that you could be playing right now. On the Bally Astrocade, there's a really fun one that we played recently called Solar Conqueror that you could be checking out right now. On the Philips Video Pack and the Magnavox Odyssey 2, there's a game called Satellite Attack or UFO, depending on what region you're in. That one's really fun as well. And even more obscure or rare is on the Intex Adventure Vision, there's a game called Space Force, which is essentially like, it's another Asteroids-like game. But the best ways to play multi-directional shooters right now, in my opinion, is on the Vectrex. The Vectrex system has the Asteroids like color vector, or not color, vector-based graphic games. The game Cosmic Chasm is awesome. And then after that, we also saw Mindstorm. And in my opinion, this is the console you would want to have in December 1982, just nudging out the ColecoVision by a little bit. Mindstorm is the game that came included with the Vectrex. After Mindstorm, we also saw Ripoff and Berserk, the version that it wasn't even originally in vector-based graphics, but sure, put it in on the Vectrex. Then we saw Space Wars and Solar Quest. So these are the games that we've seen so far on home consoles that are multi-directional shooters, and this latest one, Space Fury, is a very well done multi-directional shooter, but you can see compared to the landscape, this one isn't pumping out like an amazing game or a special game compared to the other ones we've seen so far. This is obviously ripping off Asteroids, and this marks the 51st Asteroid variant or copy of Asteroids that we've seen across all systems so far. 51 games we've seen on Chronologically Gaming that are ripping off Asteroids. ColecoVision doesn't get any Asteroids, so this is the closest Asteroids-ish game that you could be playing on your home console. I mean, with the other games that were out there, I mean, it's fun to change it up or mix it up a little bit and have fun, but it has the classic arcade gaming loop. How far can you go? How many points can you get and rack it up? It seems very much like an arcade game brought home, not doing exactly the same justice that we've seen before. Oh, that's a good point. Jeremiah's bringing up in the chat about how many games are on the 2600. That's true. You have so many bigger selections of games that are available. At some point, we're going to have the video game experiences so much that it doesn't matter the quantity or the amount of games, but more of what kind of experiences you get to have. So the controls are what I've already explained. It's relative to the position of your ship. And this song, the tune that's playing, did anyone point out the tune? Because I can't see or point out that tune. This is also the 91st video game that is a difference in the port from the original game that we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming. This one is drastically different just because it's not color vector graphics. But if you remember when we saw this in the arcades, the biggest difference between this and the arcade version, hey, it's me! No way! He talked and his lips were synced. I don't believe it. Alright, so yes, it is... Oh, I killed them all, and it says prepare for docking. What? And it came together on the ship? 1981.
No
this was
way.
such
And I could
a
shoot
big deal.
with
I got twice as much in the front and then a little bit in the back. I don't hear that song either. Oh, so I get... And the different ships give you different things, I bet. Wow. Great idea. It is so epic. Yeah, I think they made up the song for the ColecoVision version. But between the arcade version and this one, I know it doesn't have the voices, and I know it doesn't have the color vector graphics, but it is doing something different from the arcade. It's drastically different than the arcade. Some of the other ports that we've seen that are drastically different are Space Invaders on the Atari 2600. Asteroids is another example. Asteroids is very different than the arcade version. Pac-Man that came to the Atari is different. Defender slightly different. Marauder's different than the computer version. Lock and Chase, Mousetrap, Donkey Kong on the Atari is different. Vanguard is another example. Frogger, Jawbreaker, Zaxxon, and then we do categorize some games whenever they're switched from one port to another and they are enhanced or made better. Like Atlantis, when it was ported to the Intellivision, was a better version than we saw on the Atari. And Demon Attack, same thing. Well, I guess it depends on your flavor. It doesn't mean it has to be a better, it just means they did something different to improve the game or try to improve the game. Another example of a difference in port is Super Cobra. When we saw it go to the video pack, it was totally different. It wasn't even like the arcade version. And another example is Dungeon Quest that we saw on MS-DOS. When it was ported there, they changed up a lot of stuff on the Dungeon Quest series. So, we're not new to games being ported differently. We've seen our fair share here on Chronologically Gaming. Alright, so the thing that Space Fury has, though, going for it that a lot of other games don't have right now is there's two things. Space Fury has, one, a stage select, sort of, like a proto-stage select. What I'm doing here in this docking station is like an in-game stage select. We have seen video games where there's a stage select before you even start the game. You know, like either a code or something that you can put in to get to a stage select, or you just pick the stage select before you even start the game. This one, while you're in the game, then it has sort of like a stage select. Think of what we're going to see later with Mega Man, or games where while you're in the game, then you can pick from a different stage. Now, I would call this like a proto version of it, but there's no other really game that has a stage select sort of feature within the game itself. The second thing Space Fury has going for it is power-ups. I know whenever you switch after the docking station, it goes to a new scene, but that new scene has your ship powered up. Moon Cresta is an example of you getting depowered. I know you dock and power that up, but then Galaga is another example of power-ups in video games where you get your ship back after it's being taken, and then you get power-ups after that. And then maybe you could consider Tac Scan a power-up system where you have all those ships at the bottom, and as you slowly die, then your ships go away and you lose power, but you're seeing a difference in your shot. But there's so many shooters that we've seen up to this point that are not utilizing a power-up system. Now, granted, it's not something that we see like a modern power-up system, but even still, anything coming close up to this point, I would still call this like a proto power-up system. It's still something unique and different, because after so many shooters, there's not a lot of shooters that are having you power up and changing the way that you're doing your shot. Most of them still, we've seen, have ripped off Asteroids, but that's where the landscape's gonna change. We're gonna see more and more games add a power-up system to the gameplay. Quick, get them before they home in. Go for a high score. Yeah. Alright, so I already got a rating being thrown out. Here on Chronologically Gaming, we rate every video game that we come across based on all the video games you could play up to this point. Since we've seen and played it all, we have a pretty good idea of what this would be rated. Of all the video games you could play across all home consoles, right now in December 1982, what would you give Space Fury? It looks like James already threw out a 3 to 3.5. Of all the games you could play up to this point, And I'm thinking around the same, actually. For that first rating, this one, I'm not as impressed as from what we've seen with the other ColecoVision titles. I mean, think of Donkey Kong that came here. Still blows everyone away. So you wouldn't be as impressed with this Space Fury version. Oh, a lot of 3.5s. We got 3.5s from Brian, Jeremiah, and very, very nice. And what is that? We got a 3.5 to 4. Very good. Yep, we have a 4 from Paul, or could go up to 4. If you're just now tuning in, the rating system is, if you think it's a very broken game, you rate it somewhere in the 1-star range. If you think this is a bad game, you rate it somewhere in the 2-star range. If you think this game is fairly average, you rate it somewhere in the 3-star range. And if you think this game is above average or excellent video game, you rate it somewhere in the 4-star range. And if this is one of the best games you could play across all home consoles right now, you rate it somewhere in the 5-star range. Yeah, I don't think it feels like a 4 either. I'm with Marshall on that. I like that it has a little ditty, though, that you can play. Because I still can't put my finger on what that sound is from. Yeah, it sounds Star Trek-like, like a theremin kind of thing. All right, so of all the games you can play across all home consoles, there's a lot of 3.5s, and I was going to say 3 to 3.5. Yeah, it doesn't feel like a 4. I can't say 4. I'll concede. I'll say of all the games you could play up to this point, this is a 3.5-star game. Oh, is that what it is? Fan for the Common Man? Yeah, there it is. How'd you find that one, Pal Puck? That's got to be it, right? It's got to be what the song was. Because when we saw this here, I don't believe that one had... Yeah, there's no song on this one. And his lips were synced. I don't believe it. All right, so yes, it is... Oh, yeah, killed them all. Yeah, in the background, I don't think there's any music song for it. What? And it came together on the ship? No way. Has good and sound I can shoot with though. I got twice as much in the front and then a little bit in the back. Oh, so I get... And the different ships give you different things, I bet. Wow. One of the reasons I was so amazed by the arcade version is because everything else out there wasn't any power-ups at all. And getting powered up felt Mastermind guy is like amazing. Oh, Aaron Copeland, that's right. And they turned it into like a digital that's one. Right. He does it like it's a digital version of the Twilight Zone. Fanfare for the Common Man. Oh, that's so cool. Well, thanks for sharing. Okay, we're going for the last one. Yeah, I wouldn't think it would be the ELP version either. All right, so there you go. That is Space Fury for the ColecoVision. Fun times, not as impressive as the other ColecoVision games. All right, let's see what our next video game is. We're now going to play on the TRS-80. This is the Sword of Roshon. Are you ready for this one? Here's the box for the Sword of Roshon. This game is only for the TRS-80, original TRS-80, and it's the 166th game we played for the original computer. This one is done by the Tandy Corporation, at least published by. The 44th time we've seen this company. And it's done by a company called Software Concepts, the first and only game by Software Concepts. The front of this box is just throwing a bunch of stuff out and seeing what's going to fit. But look, they even have a kid at the TRS-80 playing the game. That's quality. So it makes me think maybe text adventure. But there's a whole lot of stuff going on here. I can't make heads or tails of it. Flipping over the back, and yep, it looks like the other stuff by Tandy. No big deal. Nothing to see here. What other artwork do we have for the Sword of Roshon? We have the cassette tape. Yes, if you want to play, you have to type in if you get the game to load. This one is another game that almost broke me. Take a look at the copyright there. The original was either the end of this year or the beginning of 1983, but you can see 1982 is what it says here. This game, I tried 2 different cassette tapes. I tried 3 different emulators, and I wasn't able to get this to load. I actually thought this game would not work for the show, or you wouldn't be able to play Sword of Roshon. But then I saw I couldn't find even screenshots of the gameplay. I had to make my own screenshots online, and I told myself, I'm going to get this to load. So we're gonna load and show you what the Sword of Roshon is all about. Oh, but first we need to know what it says in the manual. Here's what the Sword of Roshon is. Like leading up to the excitement. It sounds like something amazing. Suppose you were the director of a movie or the writer of a story. Maybe Luke wouldn't have lost his hand. Hey, Star Wars reference. Or maybe you'd make Dracula a 7-year-old boy. I don't know why you would do that. Wouldn't it be fun if you could tell the hero what to do? The Magic Carpet is a very special kind of story called interactive fiction. You get to take part in the story, deciding where you should go next. You tell David, the boy in the story, exactly what to do. Oh, like a text adventure game. You read it over and over again. Okay, some endings are, some are not. Okay, system requirements, great. Loading instructions. Oh man, make sure you have only the Model 3. It will not work on a Model 1 TRS-80. That's very important, especially when I was spending way too long trying to get this game to load. We're talking 5 man-hours just to load a game. I think it's one of the longest I've ever had to try to load a game. Here's the examples or what you're supposed to do to load this. And then it has the story. You read the story and read again and have fun. That's it. They didn't explain anything about the story. Maybe we'll get it in the game. And now here we go. It's time to play The Sword of Roshon. Pop in that cassette tape and check out the only game by Software Concepts. It's December 15th, 1982. Oh man. Are you ready? Now, when I first loaded this and every time I tried to load this game, this is the screen I got. When I popped the cassette in, I felt like it was December 1982 because the game just hung here. That's it, all it did. Reading the tape, and that's all I got. Okay, so what you have to do is we have to do a full reset. Reset the whole thing. Then whenever it gets to the cassette, you have to lead you through the pain of doing this. You type in H, and then it asks for memory size. We just hit enter. And then it goes ready. What system? And we're loading in to play the cassette tape. So we just type in IF. And then, wait, did it not do it? Oh, wait, sorry. We load system. There. Then we type in IF. Now we insert the cassette. So insert your digital cassette of the Sword of Roshon. This game better be epic. This better be amazing after so long it took me just to load the game. And then after it gets to this screen, then we type in enter? Really? Oh, no. There. And enter. Oh, okay. Now we have some activity. The manual even said that when you type in slash and enter, you can't hold enter down or the whole thing will break. But we're in. This is it. The Sword of Roshon. It's a cold night. Josh is so absorbed in his book that he almost forgets to take his dog Grover for a walk. Grover is a sheepdog and his full name is Grover Cleveland. What? Grover didn't forget. He sits by the door holding the leash in his mouth, wagging his tail. So it's a text adventure game, but all I'm doing is reading right now. Come on, Grover, says Josh. They walk out to the fall night. The air is clear and cold. A million stars blaze against the sky. Wait, Josh, didn't the manual say it was a different kid? Who am I really playing? I'm not sure. Hey, welcome, Curtis Boyle. You saw it on the shelves, and now you get to experience the Sword of Roshon for the first time. And you'll be able to tell yourself if you should have bought this game or not. The air is cold and clear and cold. A million stars blaze against the sky. Josh settles down on a bench. Grover runs over a squirrel. Wait, what? Josh jumps. He heard his name. He looks around. No one is there. Josh, he looks down. It's Grover. I know it's a little unusual for me to talk like this, says Grover, in a growly, doggy sort of voice, but it's very important. Sit on my back, Josh. We must go. I am already lost. Josh is too astounded not to obey. He climbs on Grover's back. The large dog leaves the ground. They are flying. Okay, this just took a turn for the weird. Josh looks down as the streets and rooftops grow smaller and smaller. Everything spins. Bright whirling colors and strange images. Then he and Grover stand in front of 2 gates. One is covered with jewels. The other is solid gold. Oh no! Press A or B. No! It's not like a Infocom text adventure game. It's a choose your own adventure game. Why? This hell of text adventure games way to get this one? Okay, so which one? Pick A or B, the jeweled door or the gold door? I'll pick The gold door. B. Josh and Grover find themselves under an orange sky in a strange city of twisting streets that stretch to the horizon. In front of them towers a dark castle. Grover runs down a side street. Before Josh can run after him, Grover returns and drops a diamond sword case at Josh's feet. "You'll need this," says Grover. "It's the sheath of Roshon. Say Anthron 3 times and it will make you invisible." "But what am I supposed to do?" asks Josh before he can finish, and then Grover vanishes. This story is all over the place. I love the story just because it's so whacked out and weird, but what you're seeing here is quite possibly the only online play of the Sword of Roshon for the original TRS-80. What we're doing right now, excuse me. Yes, he must be Falcor. But that hasn't even come out yet. Isn't that 84 when Neverending Story comes out? Josh retraces his steps to the castle. He almost knocks over 3 stormtroopers. What, like Star Wars? They drag a 4th who hisses at them. Josh ducks into a doorway, but too late. One of them heads for Josh. The door behind him opens. "Quick," hisses a reptile voice. "Hide in here." Josh sees Grover running down the street. Do we go after Grover? Or do we duck in the doorway? I can't believe this. This is such a deep cut, Marshall. I really was expecting something amazing. I mean, the front of the box is available to see online. You can look up pictures of the box. It seems like another epic text adventure, but no. It is just a choose-your-own adventure. All right, let's go after Grover. Josh enters the maze of streets. He reaches a crossroads. Passageways lead off in all directions. We can go left or right. Let's go left. Josh enters the maze of streets. Uh-oh. Go left. Oh, no. I choose right this time. So here's the other thing. It's loading the tape in the top right. This has no walkthrough. There is no coverage of this game that I found online, not on the Solution Archive. Ringa and Blue, their blog hasn't done this game. Obviously, it's just a choose-your-own adventure, so I don't know the correct options to choose. We are essentially discovering this game and playing it all together. I already got a rating by Paul. I don't even know if I want to rate this one, because it's really, really rare to get a game like this right now. So on Chronologically Gaming, we break down adventure games into different subgenres. Like we have the text adventure game, which is only text. We also have the graphic text adventure game, which is a text adventure game with pictures. And then we have graphic adventure games, which are very rare right now still, which are not just text on pictures. They usually have other elements involved, usually larger worlds to explore. So all in all, we've seen 239 text-only adventure games on Chronologically Gaming. All of them have been on home computers, and this kind of game, the choose-your-own adventure game, is even more rare of a video game. This is only the 4th choose-your-own adventure game. And we might see more of these kind of games if we did every single educational video game. Some examples of the other ones we've seen have been Mount St. Helens on the Atari home computer, Prism for the Apple II, and Assignment 46 for the Atari home computer. So this game isn't that special because there's not a true text parser, like a 2-word text parser. All we're doing is typing in an option or a selection. You essentially could be doing the exact same thing with a book, which I'm sure you could argue that with other interactive fiction games. Just get a book, if you want to read a book, because Infocom and their titles have been really, really amazing with the way they're written. So I'm sure you could say the same, but you could definitely say it for these kind of games. It is a choose-your-own adventure game. If I can say anything about the game itself, the protagonist of this game is a player or a gamer. Like, you start off as just a kid, and then you go to the world you're playing in the game, which is very unique. Some of the other games we've seen usually don't have this feature. Like even the Scott Adams adventure games, they don't have you starting off as the player or the kid, and then you go to the world. They just have you go to the world. So this actually has a story leading up to get you to that world. It's not necessarily breaking the fourth wall, but you do get to see this like change from going from the player to going to the world, which we really haven't seen that much. Most of the time we get a text adventure game, you're just in the world. You just go and you're starting to pretend that way. But I mean, I guess if you don't want to be Josh, you can play as the other games. Maybe you don't want to play as Josh. I don't know. All right, so it has a combination of this is a fantasy game and a contemporary game at the same time, which is still just very strange. Okay, so now we get to a maze of puzzles, tunnels beneath the city. He reaches the end of the tunnel. One passage leads up, the other down. Which way should I go? Let's have Josh go up. Oh gosh, see, and this is even more menial. Gosh, it's having you stuck in a maze, but it's not really doing too much to make the game go anywhere. Can I go? Okay, I guess we'll go down. Oh, see, it's so cheap. Not as enthralling or expansive as the other adventure games we played. Josh walks the maze of tunnels beneath the city. Torches along the wall light his way. Suddenly it gets dark. When he finds light once more, he sees two doors. One is bolted, the other stands ajar. See, even whenever it gets dark, we don't even get to light a lantern like we would with Zork or something. Yeah, Marshall, I saw that if you think the game's going to get deeper or weirder, maybe it does if we go even further. Okay, so we can go through the bolted door or the open door. Let's do the open door. And see, it's not even really giving us options. It's essentially like we're reading a book. We just have to pick the bolted door, and then it continues. Josh bursts into a room full of stormtroopers. Before he can use the sheath of Roshon to make himself invisible, the stormtroopers pin him down. They drag him before the wicked King Dalmark and Queen Merelda, who are seated on their golden thrones. This must be one of Hyrkon's wizards, hisses the king. Oh, he must be a lizard. Executed with the rest of the rebels, hisses Merelda. I've never been entertained by a dying wizard before. The guards shove Josh into a group of rebel prisoners. Josh fingers the sheath. He whispers the words, Anthron, Anthron, Anthron. He becomes invisible. See, this is the other thing, too. We have very little part of the action. Usually on text adventures, we'd be typing in Anthron, Anthron, Anthron. You don't do that. You just follow along with the story like we're reading a book. Press A to have Josh attack them. Oh, yeah, let's attack. Invisible, Josh sneaks behind the throne. If I can cause enough confusion, he thinks the rebels can escape. Josh hurls a burning torch across the room. The throne room is thrown into an uproar. A wizard, shouts Merelda. There is a wizard among us. The rebels realize their chance and break for the door. A thundering explosion in the middle of the room stops everyone in their tracks. Zyre, a mighty wizard with gleaming eyes, towers over them. In his hand, a sword blazes like 1,000 suns. He points it at Josh. I think you were right. The story's getting even more crazy because Grover runs in, barking and growling. Right behind him is the rebel leader, Oricon. Shouts the rebels, Oricon. The sword flies from Zyre's hand. It flies at Josh. It magically slides into the sheath. The sword, barks Grover. Throw it to me. Josh obeys. Grover turns into the wizard, Hyrkon. With the sword, Hyrkon vanishes Zyre into oblivion. But before Hyrkon can stop her, Queen Merelda stabs Josh in the back. Oricon and his men quickly subdue Dalmark, Merelda, and the stormtroopers. Sadly, they gather round the fallen boy. He was a brave wizard, says Oricon. Yes, sighs Hyrkon, and no one in this world will ever know that they are safe because of him. Whoa. So we just died. I don't know if you can see down on the bottom, it's asking us if we want to play again. We just died as Josh. Now, imagine you're a kid right now in December 1982 playing this game. Be traumatic. All right, so I don't know what to make of the Sword of Roshon. I was expecting greatness, amazingness. We didn't get that. Of all the games you could play up to this point, the Sword of Roshon is, I would say, not really a game. I rate it somewhere in the bad range. I couldn't go broken. Yes, if you're late for the live show, you just missed the rare video game, The Sword of Roshon. I got only a 2 and 2.5 star that someone threw out now. I'm thinking between 1.5 to 2 stars maybe, because that was also really fast. Sword of Roshon does not deliver compared to the other video games we played because there's just not as much gameplay there. Yeah, there's a 2 from Jeremiah. That's very generous. I'm going to go with a... Marshall saying 1.5. I'm going to go with a 1.5 star. In the bad range, because if you got this off the shelves, you would be let down because of how quickly it is and how you don't really get to control as much. So I'm going to say 1.5 stars for the Sword of Roshon. All right, so after that video game, what could possibly be next? We're still going to hang out on our home computers. This is on the Apple II, Thunder Bombs. Let's check it out together. Here's the box for Thunder Bombs. The fast arcade action by Thomas Becklin. Way to go, Thomas. This one is available first on the Apple II, and it marks the 447th video game that we played on the Apple II. Penguin Software is also not new to the show. This is the 4th time we've seen Penguin Software after Pie-Man, Transylvania, and Spy's Demised. This is the very first video game by Thomas Becklin. And why would you want to buy the game? It's just a thundercloud on the front. Come on, you gotta spice it up, make it interesting, right? If you flip it over the back, it says, out for a cruise in your interstellar cloud ship, you find yourself suddenly in the midst of a swarm of alien drone bombs. Trapped in a deadly crossfire, your only recourse is to dodge and fire back as fast as you can. The situation seems hopeless. Behind the approaching alien ships, you can see drone clone replenishers replacing the enemy craft as fast as you shoot them down. Only by eliminating the supply ships can you hope to destroy the wave of attacking aliens. Unfortunately, each wave destroyed brings another even deadlier wave of attackers. Hey, I've heard that one before. It requires 48K. Very, very nice. Some of the copyrights for these are starting to say 1983, even though the very first time you could see them or when it was mentioned is here. Now, this is a later ad for Thunder Bombs. Look what you can get for 20 bucks, 1995. And some of the other games we've seen are right here by Penguin Software. The only ones we haven't seen yet are Crime Wave. I think that's the only one. Yeah, that's on this ad. And there's our 5.25 floppy disk that you use to play this game, Thunder Bombs, with an example of the screenshot. I'm intrigued. Let's pop in that disc and play some Thunder Bombs. Thomas Becklin and Penguin Software. It is December 15th, 1982. Will we play Thunder Bombs? Yes, we will. Don't think I've seen this loading screen before. I wonder if that's cracked or made it so that we can play the game. It's booting up. At least I hope it is. No crashes here. Oh, Marshall, good catch. Yeah, the back said there's an Atari joystick option. Here it is. Look at that. You can play with the Atari joystick, the Apple joystick, or the keyboard. Shows you the bonus and high score table. Really nice. You get an extra cloud every 2,000 points. All right, and then it goes into, oh, very nice. It goes into the attract mode. Well, I don't want to do that. I want to play with the Apple joystick. Here we go. Level 1. I pushed A for Apple joystick. Or sorry, J for Apple joystick. A was for the other one. Okay, so I'm the cloud in the I'm the cloud in the center of the screen. Is everyone here? It's the magnificent sounds of like stock Apple II video games right now. See if I can get some good scores in. But yeah, you just move up and down. Very much feeling the analog control of the Apple II, which is not working so well. I really should have plugged the paddle in instead of the joystick. But either way, it'll work. We have a rapidly flashing star field happening in the background. And it looks like this is it. I want to see if we go past anything else because the presentation of this game has been very well done as far as the games you could play at home that are like the arcade. But the controls are really simple. You have 2 buttons on your joystick, at least on the Apple joystick. I wonder how you would do it on the Atari, actually, because you need one of the buttons to fire to the right, and then the other button to fire to the left as you move up and down. I told everyone when we played Choplifter for the Apple II how the controls were a lot better than the other ports because the Apple controller had 2 buttons that you could use to control your chopper. And this one, you use the 2 buttons and it works all right, pretty well. But why in the world am I a cloud in the middle of space? Makes no sense. We call these video games fixed shooters. Shoot 'em up fixed shooters, if you will. This is the 421st fixed shooter that we've seen so far on Chronologically Gaming. Go. Go. Yes. On home computers, this is the 247th fixed shooter that we've seen so far, and it is the 40th that we've seen on the Apple II alone. And usually they're ripping off, Space Invaders, Galaxian, Astro Fighter, Centipede, Space Zap, or any clones like that. Sometimes we have things that are trying something new, or not necessarily ripping it off exactly, but like games like Threshold or Sneakers, or the really cool looking Star Mines is available for the Apple II. But there's also other ones that take liberties and try to do their own thing, like Exit, or Thorolian Tunnels, Zargs, or Bizarre. Oh, and there we go. We already had a game over. So to give you an idea of fixed shooters, most of them are down at the bottom, but there are fixed shooters on its side. And at this point, we've seen, I know it's not technically a shoot 'em up, it's a fixed shooter, but shoot 'em ups still the origin of where this comes from. The shoot 'em ups that we've seen so far at this point on Chronologically Gaming, or fixed shooters on its side, have been twerps on the Apple II, which kind of just tilts on its side and you're just shooting everything to the right. Marauder had a mode where you were shooting on its side as well. Another game that we've seen on a few different home computers was Shadowfax. It's you playing as Gandalf and you're shooting everything to the right. Very simple. It's still a simple fixed shooter. Another example is Storm that we saw for the Commodore VIC-20. It is terrible. This one is just terrible. Puyon is a really popular one we saw in the arcades, ported to the Atari 2600. It's also a fixed shooter from the side. More recently, we saw Grapple on the Apple II. Gave me vibes of a game we haven't even seen yet on the show. We also saw Galactic Crossfire on the Commodore VIC-20, where they essentially took the idea of, let's do a fixed shooter like Space Invaders, but let's make it in the center, like a tunnel, and you're shooting up or you're shooting down. And then we also saw games where they took that tunnel and they made it vertical, like we're playing now. One of the very first ones we saw was Power Path on the Atari home computer. After that was Space Bugger in the arcades, where it's a vertical tunnel in the middle and you're shooting the invaders on the left and right sides. We also saw Falkland Island Crisis on the Apple II, and this game that we're playing right now, Thunder Bombs, really gives me the vibes of Falkland Island Crisis. Another example of that vertical tunnel for a fixed shooter was Squeeze on the Coco, which is really close and really similar to Turmoil that we've seen for a couple home computers up to this point. So we've seen our fair share of these kinds of games or fixed shooters. As it's going through the attract mode, you have an idea that this is not original or new. It's fairly average. The joystick control is a nice touch. The only other time I think we played as a cloud, or an example of playing as a cloud, was a game called Pandora's Box. Really weird if you want to check that one out. So this game we're going to be seeing later in 1983 for the Atari home computer, the Commodore 64, because by law, every video game has to be ported to the Commodore 64. So, of all the games you could play across all home computers, we're already seeing some ratings thrown out. I got a 2.5 from Jeremiah, a little bit lower from Jay Mogler with 2 stars. And then, yes, 1982, that's right. That is where we are. I would say of all the games you could play across all home computers, Thunder Bombs is still fairly average. I'd even call this, the simplicity of the gameplay, around the 2-star range or bad. But the reason why I really don't want to put it in that range is because the presentation for the game is very well done. How you start, the options for joysticks are very nice. There we go. James is saying 2.5. Marcel's saying 2.5. Yeah, it's still a meh, but I still say 2.5 as well. 2.5 stars for Thunder Bombs. All right, and that's where we got to put all the video game playing on pause. Hit the break key if you're on a computer, break the game, because that game that we just played, the Sword of Roshon, almost broke me. That was one of the hardest games I could ever get to load, trying on 2 different cassettes, 3 different emulators, and I was really fighting for it and spent so many hours on it because I just saw no one play this. No one had ever checked out and played the game, and now you can put all your questions to rest of what Sword of Roshon is really like. Well, I really appreciate everyone that's here live on the show, and you're hanging out till the very end of the video. You've been here since the beginning, maybe. Or maybe you're here just for this first time on the live show. Thanks so much for watching Chronologically Gaming, where we play every game in order of release. We have over 1,500 videos on YouTube of what we've seen so far, and while we've been in 1982 for a long time, we still have even more games to go before we finish out the year. Well, next time on Chronologically Gaming, is ColecoVision the next great system? The gift guide for gamers and the ultimate gaming gift. We will read all of that and more in the December issue of Electronic Games magazine. That's it for today, and like I always say, the next time someone tells you that pre-crash era of video games are not any good to play, tell them to report to Chronologically Gaming. Hey everybody, thanks for checking out the channel and joining me on my quest to play every single video game in order of release. We'll be streaming live every Tuesday at 9 p.m. Central, so join us and be a Chronologically Gaming influencer, rating the games as we play them. This video wouldn't be possible without Launchbox, RetroArch, and Main. Tell all your friends there's some crazy guy named Chronologically Gaming trying to play every video game. We have links down below that give more information on the games we played this episode, as well as our Discord and Patreon. There's a link called All the Games We Have Played. If you go there, it's a list of everything, and you can click right to the game you want to see. Chronologically Gaming is the name to look for. We are perpetually retro, and we will catch you next time.